Hey everybody, thank you for joining us Habitat Now. I'm joined by Habitat's founder Ferdinand Hampson for this upcoming MasterWorks auction. We have our Glass54 exhibition starting next week, and we wanted to get a little background on every work that's going to be in this upcoming auction. There's 46 pieces. One will be replaced soon. We'll talk about that because it has to be replaced for this auction. But long story short, let's get right into it. The auction's on April 23rd at 7 p.m. I think it might start at 7:15 to give people some time to sit down. This is a live auction during our Glass54 Art Experience here in Royal Oak, Michigan, which is a VIP weekend we do celebrating glass. Over 40 artists are coming in for the show, as well as clients from around the world. And we're going to be doing some amazing adventures. So if you want to see and learn about it, go to glass54.com. But this is about the auction. We're hitting it now. Thank you for joining me, Ferd. I appreciate you joining me and sharing your stories about these works.
Sure.
All right, let me get this screen going here and we'll start. So like I said, it's going to be coming up soon on the 23rd. This is Eastern time, by the way. So the first piece is a Chihuly edition work. This is kind of a very exciting work. We've sold this particular Macchia series in the past. It's very beautiful, very vibrant. You can see the contrast between the blues and the pinks, and I suspect this work will find a home without problem. People love Chihuly, especially at auction, and so if you're looking for a Chihuly edition, there's two in this auction, both in different styles. This one's for you. Little known fact is the very first two editions offered by Chihuly were done here at Habitat, celebrating the 25th anniversary and probably the 26th. Is that right, Ferd?
Kinda. Uh,
Yeah.
we worked on the very first one in, I think it was 1994, 95. And then we did do a separate one just for Habitat, which was a wonderful thing that Dale did for us. And I believe it was an edition of 25.
Yes, yes, right. I still see those come up every now and then at auction. All right, second piece. We have four Paul Stenkert works in this auction. All of them are from the legendary Michael and Annie Belkin collection from Ohio, who are personal friends of um, Paul Stenkert. Each one is different. Each one's unique. People keep asking me if the bees in these works of the flowers and the bugs and the people are like, especially the bees, if they're real bees. But no, everything in these works are 100% glass, made by the master. He has a documentary out about his work. I'm trying to get a copy of for our next international. We saw it in the theater during our previous international at the Flint Institute of Arts. So excited to have four different works by Paul in this auction, all from the same collection. Artist Vivian Wang, a longtime friend of our Habitat family, who has since somewhat retired and moved and is no longer working in glass, but I've never seen a single head of her sculptures for sale. Usually it's an entire figure. This is
Yeah.
made late in her career too, at 2017, and it
Yeah.
comes with this beautiful base, which is kind of exciting. You have something to
Yeah.
add,
I've
Ferd?
never seen just a single head. It's almost always with the torso. It's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, elaborate hat, great version of her, I mean, great piece of her work, and definitely something interesting. I believe this piece was a gift to somebody she knew down in Florida who has since moved and is deaccessioning it. So it's your opportunity now. Or do you want to talk about a little about the Bag and Bag series?
Yeah, arguably the most popular series that John and Kate did. And John, of course, is the son of Harvey Littleton, the founder of Studio Glass in America. And this is a beautiful example of his work. You can see why it's so appealing to so many people. This was done early on, 1982, and they've had a very good career ever since then and worked in some monumental scaled projects also.
Yeah, they have a recent installation in the Muskegon Museum, which is incredible. And the new works are available for sale on our Glass 54 show. This work is actually quite big. When you see it, most of the works are smaller in scale. This one is much larger, so we're great to have it in the auction. Stephen Powell's work, he's become quite popular lately. He's has plenty of works out there I've seen people have acquired over time. And when you see works of his, sometimes people are drawn to different colors. He's a master of marining and blowing large scale objects, and this is a great example of his work at a large scale.
Yeah. And the circa 2000 is probably a little wrong. He passed away in 1999, but it's a very late in his career. You can tell by the beautiful marinis that he's used to make this piece.
I think he passed away later than that, Bird. I was 99, I was barely with the gallery. Um, he passed away, I'm
That
just gonna,
it says in the description 99, I think.
2019 is when he passed away. So a little bit later in his career.
2019.
Yep.
Oh, sorry about that. I
Well, yeah,
saw it as 2000.
just a missing an eye, missing a one and a nine.
And
Yep.
yeah.
Worry not. This is kind of a rare object to have in our auction, a large scale drawing, painting by artist Sophie Ryder, who usually works on large scale sculpture. This is from a local collector who is deassessing and changing the way his home looks. So he brought it to us. It's beautiful, large scale, 55 inches tall and framed. The frame does have a little bit of dings and nicks around it, but it's not affecting the actual painting itself. The painting does have some texture to it, but it's something incredible at the large scale. Rare, might be your fancy. Definitely place it there.
One of her pieces sold at auction for 117,000
Wow.
$56.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. She's very well known in the fine arts, and especially for these rabbits and horses too.
Definitely horses. Thank you for a newer artist. We've had luck with her work at auction in the past. Her name is Lexa French. She does masks and fans and other beauty type objects. And we incorporated this hairpin that is actually worn during Laura Donna for one of our artists. She does a glass fashion show. And this pin was worn by an artist during the Murano fashion show a couple years ago. So a little bit of history to this piece and very
Mhm.
fun. And she's very talented. We're exciting about an upcoming artist. Thurman Statham, as a big supporter in the educational community, as a Black artist, he's been a mentor for so many, and we're grateful to have this piece in our auction. It has a little bit of glue residue from Thurman's work. If you know Thurman at all, he's very hands-on, makes wonderful things, and they have a little texture to them quite often. Looks like he took a bunch of unique cards and added glass to it and made a fun mixed media object. So I couldn't find a signature on this, but it is definitely our friend Thurman.
Mhm.
Want to take this one for Janet Kelman?
Yeah, these are just absolutely wonderful pieces. They're very difficult to make because they're very thin and they're multi layers. That's how she gets various colors in the piece. And this particular series, there was a book that came out that was the 500 glass artists or objects that were created, and she was the cover. One of these pieces was the cover of the book. She didn't make a whole lot of them, and she no longer, I believe, works with glass. But a wonderful, wonderful piece.
I see her every now and then. She's dabbling a little bit back in glass too. Totally different
Yeah.
bodies of work. So I'm glad to see that she's still working today. Artist Preston Singletary, one of the most popular artists working today with glass focused on his ethnicity and his heritage. He makes artworks reflecting on his Indian heritage. And this is kind of a large platter sculpture that's quite impressive in person. And that just the clarity of the orange and the black and the yellow and the white have such a strong tone to them. I'm a big fan of this work. A great Emily Brock. You're a big fan of Emily's, right, Ferd?
Oh, absolutely. I guess we probably own five of them in our private collection. Um, I always feel that she's a bit underrated because what she does is so phenomenal. Like the back of this piece is all like bricks, and she just leaves no detail without making something wonderful out of it. And look at all the elements in this one. This is really a very enjoyable and difficult to make, obviously, uh, Emily Brock.
Yeah, it's a fun one for sure. And we
Yeah,
actually sold this one in our Sofa Chicago show years ago, probably back in 2014. It's come back to us, so we're happy to offer it at this auction.
yeah.
John Kiley, a student of Lino Pietra, master of blowing and carving glass. This large sculpture piece is kind of a rarity. Usually there's single sculpture, so having a tall piece like this is very fun for this auction. He works in different colors and different tones, but a very unique looking piece, kind of a retro kind of feel. Now and then we incorporate paintings just like the Sophie Ryder. This is a Berto Valine painting, a drawing on the wall. It's signed and numbered, I believe. Um, I've seen a couple of these at auction in the past, but this is kind of a very fun description of his process of creating a boat in the real world of his sand casting. So something you might have on the lean and want to accompany it with a nice historic painting.
It says on it two of three, and I don't know if that's actually about the number that was made, but I assume it is.
I think there's more than three because I've seen a couple of them on auction, but they could be different editions. Who knows how he did these things?
Right.
Here's one for you, Ferd, Tom Patty.
Yeah, Tom Petty is a very early piece, 1977. And, Tom Petty was the 1979 cover of the Corning New Glass Review, not New Glass Review, the Corning exhibition that traveled all over the world. Probably the most important exhibit that's ever been done in glass because it exposed it to so many people in so many countries. And this is a technique, and the reason he was on the cover, it's a technique that Tom Buechner, who was the director of the Corning Museum at the time, said that it's the first absolutely unique technique that's been involved in glass. So many others had been experimented, from Roman time onward, but this one is very special because of that.
Yeah, it's large scale and there's lots of details the picture doesn't pick up, but it is a very substantial work by the artist. Artist is still part of our Habitat family, Christina Bothwell. We actually got this piece in, and Christina Bothwell saw it and said she wanted us to ship it to her so she could work her magic on it and improve the work. So it was returned to Christina, and she actually improved the work, maybe some of the clay, maybe cleaning up the painting, but it has been restored entirely by the artist. So it's a wonderful piece. Her work is about family and about motherhood and about, the bond between mother and child and about dreams. So this work is actually called Dream. Who'd have thought? Wonderful work by the artist, something you should definitely acquire. Steve Tobin, a really well-known artist, works in different types of styles and different types of medias. He has all kinds of bodies of work out there, but lucky for us, he does dabble in glass. He does freestanding sculptures along with these kind of big blocky works that incorporate the textures and the feeling of the material. Just has real substantial appearance to it and something unique for the show. Now we have another Berto Valian. So this particular work, Bertel is experiencing with life. Everything he creates is about the passage through life. Everybody has ups and downs, achievements and failures, and then they have some baggage and they have some things they push through to succeed. And these map works, which are flat panel works, kind of incorporate all the feelings of life, different objects we interact with, while making something very beautiful, but also challenging in a way where you want to view it and look and explore every single piece. Quite a wonderful work and quite
Yeah,
substantial.
if you have the opportunity, which you do by clicking on the image and looking at the details, it's really quite an extraordinary piece.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Seth Randall, an artist that we've represented here on and off in the gallery over the years, working on these large pate bear vessels. There's actually two works by the artist in this auction. This is probably one of the most substantial I've ever seen. Very large scale, 32.5 inches tall. Has that feeling of that ancient Roman history or ancient history of the world. Real amazing feel to it. You'll see later on we have a female version of it, a female version by the artist that's almost at the end of this auction. If you're looking for a Seth Randall, that's a masterpiece. This would be it.
Mhm.
Here's the other Chihuly edition we have, a different body of work, the blue basket with the lip wrap. Simply wonderful. These
This was
work.
the this was the very first one.
This was the very first one. So this was the
Yeah.
very first Chihuly edition back in '99. How did that come together? A phone call or a conversation, Bert?
Oh, actually, I was in Chihuly's studio, and I had worked on or sold many prints in edition pieces. So we had conversations about it and several phone calls about it. And so when it finally came to fruition, he said, "Well, yeah, you're going to be allowed to sell it, but you're the only gallery that will be able to sell it because I'm making it so that museums can sell it and then use that money to provide exhibitions for me or acquisitions. But the reality is that museums are not set up to sell work. So consequently, they didn't sell very much, and Habitat sold most of them. And it was really a wonderful piece to offer to people.
Very cool. Great to hear that story come together that way. Another work by Paul Stankard. I love exploring these pieces. There's videos of these pieces too in the auction. You can see all around them underneath. I think this root work might have some hidden earth spirits or root people under the base of the work. Paul's still working today. He does not do cube shapes anymore. He's totally doing sphere paperweights. So a different opportunity to get a different piece than what he's making today. And these are usually priced really well for people to find a home for. Robert Mickelson, someone we've also been representing here at Habitat, and have his work in the gallery. It's nice to see his talent from the past, though, and I sent him a picture of this work just to, ask him about it. And he had all the information about it and professional photos, which I included in the auction. They're all hand lamp work made, and he's really in the technical side now, using computers now to help design his work up today. This is quite substantial, at 20, almost over 2 feet tall, and at the top horse has a topper that like a bottle topper that comes out and goes back in. And yeah, if you're looking for a really fun work by Robert Mickelson, it's a substantial one, this would be it.
Yeah.
Longtime friend Davide Salvadori, historically is now known for more of his instruments, but in the past he worked on these vessel forms. And usually they're kind of white or pastel, not pastel, white or taupe or like they're really soft in colors, but this one's pretty strong in its black tones with red objects. And usually they have one or two prints. This one has three. So this is kind of a different and unique piece compared to some of the works he made at this time. Want to talk about this one further, our old friend Hiroshi?
This is so interesting. Yamano has been an artist of renown for many, many years in Japan and often exhibits in the United States. Mostly they are more like vessels, but using some recurrent images like the fish and the bird. Now, I have not seen this piece in person, Aaron. The
Mhm.
fish, I'm assuming, are glass.
I have not seen it in person either. I think the
Oh,
fish are painted on there. The only thing I think that sticks out is the actual bird and the branch and the flowers.
yeah, the bird I know is
Mhm.
glass. Yeah,
But
beautiful painting, and I love the three-dimensional quality of it too.
definitely. And that you can see on the top right, there appears to be some kind of square that's kind of seeping through. And I asked Hiroshi about that, and he said, yes, on the back, it's part of the mounting system, and it kind of basically appears depending on the angle of you're looking at the piece. So I wanted to make sure that was actually supposed to be there, and he said yes. Pullman and Knowles, Jenny Pullman and Sabrina Knowles, longtime members of our Habitat family, really well known for their world travels and their work created by those experiences. These heads are really in demand. Sometimes they are different colors and shapes, but this one has a very long spear and is a great example of the really strong natural look of the work they experienced while traveling the world. Both of them will be here for our Glass54 show, which is exciting to see. And they have different bodies of work that will be on display, including new wall panels. So we're honored to have you come see that and bid in the auction.
The hair on this piece has been made from different tribal experiences that they've had. They trekked through Africa, going to different tribes and learning different techniques and bringing them back to their own work, which was glass.
Great to know. And so there's two Fujita works in this auction. One is a more well-known box we'll see later, but Fujita also is well known for creating these vessel forms with these foil pickups on the outside. It is 8.5 inches, so it is quite big. It's kind of why I made this picture kind of big in this PowerPoint we're doing today. Beautiful tones and colors in this work, and it's probably one of the nicest vessels I've seen. You have any stories about Paul Stinker you want to share, Ferd?
Well, I just wanted to say that we have four Paul Stankards in this auction, and they're all from the Belkin, Mike and Annie Belkin collection. They had a special relationship, and developed over time the largest collection of Paul Stankard's work in the world. And they have always had the ability, because of their relationship, to choose just the most special pieces of his work. And these are examples of that. Really wonderful.
Yeah, really wonderful. And this work incorporates his earth spirits and bees, and usually they're clear, so it's kind of rare to see one that's heavily in the greens. And it's amazing to see also his technique of these flowers, mastering the world of, I guess, botany to really get a grasp of making them in real life himself with a hand torch.
Yeah.
An older Hutchhausen fur. Tell us about this fantasy vessel.
Oh, wow. Well, the largest collection of fantasy vessels is at the Corning Museum. And they have about, I would say 24, probably more than the rest of the country combined in their collection. And part of that was because of Ben Heineman, the Chicago collector, who acquired every one he could of these fantasy pieces and other works done in the same kind of technique. This was done in Austria, and it was part of his Fulbright scholarship that he had, and that's when he started making these wonderful fantasy vessels.
That's great. Thanks, Ferd. And yeah, David's still working today. And we have new work by the artist in the show.
Yeah,
Jan Zoracek. I don't really know much about Jan Zoracek, Ferd. Maybe you can take this one too.
yeah, yeah. I really love his work. He integrates these elements on the interior, and he makes the shape of the piece so that as you walk around it, it constantly changes and shows you different images. So he, not a whole lot of work has come to this country. Maybe over the course of the years, uh, 12 to 15 works, something like that. I was kind of happy to see this in our auction.
That's great. Thanks, Ferd. So this is the Bertolini that's not in the auction. Will be replaced by a different piece. It is no longer available for sale. So I'll be filling this auction lot later today with something new and different. So check back in the auction. You'll find something you may want here in this slot, which is slot number 29. Artist Janusz Valentinowicz makes very passionate work that creates emotional responses. And we've been representing him for the years. I have a piece of his in my collection. I'm sure Ferd does too. This particular work was bought by a client, and the client was known for naming the work when he buys it. So when he bought it, the client named it At the Edge of Knowing, since the artist originally didn't have a title for it. And it is quite big. It's 18 by 18 inches, so it's a foot and a half tall and a foot and a half wide. So it's bigger than it looks. And when you see it in person, it's a really impressive piece, and it's very thought-provoking. Another longtime friend of Mary Van Klein, our Habitat is our friend Mary Van Klein, who was one of the first that I know of that did photo transfer onto glass. And this
Yes.
is a large scale sculpture, 23 inches tall and wide, kind of really Romanesque, telling a story, a feminine narrative, and just an overall beautiful piece.
Yeah.
How about this one for Colin Heaney?
Colin Heaney, yes, from Australia. And he does these wonderful, it no longer works in glass, but he did these wonderful pieces that were almost like a confetti of colors, and they're just exuberant works. And they're actually blown in such a manner that there's a thickness to the piece all the way around.
Yeah, it's a very interesting texture too. They feel like they're definitely glass, but they feel like candy in a way. I can't really describe it, but they're very impressive. This is a very soft piece compared to some of the works that he have are very other vibrant colors, something different and new. Uh, Kit Carvler usually works with another artist named Michael Ferd, and this
Yeah,
particular
Michael
piece
David.
is worth a new artist, Dmitry Radenko. Did you know how they work together at all, or nothing
Um,
before?
Yeah, I knew that he and Michael David had separated, and but I didn't know of his new partnership. And they're complex pieces. They're blown and multi layers, But the thing that's kind of extreme about them is the way they're cut back, and it creates a lot of illusions on the inside. And yeah, just a beautiful piece.
Yeah, the color in this one is very vibrant compared to someone I've seen. And what you're
Hmm.
talking about is right, because look at the year 2017, much later than many of the works I've seen at auction. So much a much newer piece in the production of the artist.
Yeah.
An artist I really love, Masao Odahashi, very detailed, very quiet, Asian-esque works made out of glass. And we've had this work at the gallery and it always draws people's eyes. I actually sent the artist pictures of this work just to confirm that the painting on it was natural because there are some residuals of paint, little, I guess you call them cracks on the face, but it's just part of the painting process that the artist does. And if you scroll down to the very bottom of this piece, you'll see a small home cast in the very bottom of the work, which is very hard to see. I didn't see it as of late. So moral of the story is it's an impressive work by the artist. Scott Chaseling, another Australian, right, Ferd?
Yeah, yeah. Scott Chaseling and Klaus Moye developed what was called the Australian roll-up, and it was rolling the hot glass and picking up all of this imagery. But what's amazing is that, and I encourage everyone to take a look all the way around, is that he tells a story going all the way around the piece. But then amazing, you look inside and a whole different imagery appears, and a lot of it's narrative. And this happens to be a really beautiful piece of his work. He suddenly quit working. He wasn't of an age where that was a problem, but and I kind of lost track of him. But his the pieces, and there's not a lot of them, are always so extraordinary.
Yeah, we're great to have this one in this auction, and it's so colorful and peaceful in tone. I've seen some of his works and some of his images, and I really like this one myself.
Yeah.
Stanislava Grinchakova, someone I also don't know much about, but obviously works on large scale castings. And I've seen some of the works come up for auction. We don't represent her directly.
We actually sold this piece though.
Did we?
Yeah. Uh-huh. And yeah, she was a student of Stanislav Levinsky, and he always spoke very highly of her. And she still works in the Czech Republic and does, really beautiful castings. It's very difficult to photograph because as I look at this one, I know the sculpture is considerably different. This almost looks like a bowl that's been squished, but it's not. It's solid glass cast, and it's more like when you see it in person, more like a sunset.
Yeah, there are extra photos in the actual auction that will hopefully give some depth and design to the what you're seeing here.
Yeah.
Tim Shaw, an Australian artist, works in a very colorful tone. We've seen sold his work in the past in different objects, and I think this is one of the most colorful ones I've seen that doesn't have other objects in the work. It almost looks like he's just twisted the bejesus out of it when he's on the end of a blowpipe to create these beautiful textures. I don't know how he quite does it, but it is beautiful.
I got the feeling that it's almost like windswept.
Hmm.
It's in motion.
Yeah, almost like it's been blown around during the casting. Another secret we'll have to figure out in our career. Carl Berg. This is a two-part, really large, substantial work for it. I think you might know more about Carl than me.
Yeah, Carl Berg is from Germany, and we showed work, but it was through the Glass Art Gallery of Toronto, which represented him, and they sold a number of his works, um, and we would get them from that gallery. Yeah, just beautiful optical work, carefully polished and analyzed in terms of what would happen when you look at the interior from different directions.
Yeah, very refined in its appearance. John Lewis, another one for you, Ferd, if you don't mind taking it.
No, that's John Lewis developed the largest casting facility in the United States, maybe the world, I don't know. But he could drop 800 pounds of glass at one time. And so he would build these molds and develop these pieces This is a rather, for a pedestal piece, is what he's probably best known for. It's a beautiful example.
Yeah, he has these tabletops I've seen my whole life, and this is probably the nicest tabletop, like freestanding piece I've seen. And the interior is the same color as the exterior of the work, and I'm looking forward to seeing this one go to auction. Now here's a fun one you can't live without. This is going to look great right in the front of your house, staring at your front door when people walk in. David Rickey's work is always so humorous and has such an amazing tone. And he's also sending in new, smaller works for our show here at Glass 54. It's two-part piece. The head sits on freestanding into the shoulder base. But this is the kind of work you can't look away from. When you get this piece, it just either it scares you or makes you smile. So I hope you consider it because I really love this work. If you're not buying it, I'm taking it home and it's scaring my kids. Ben Moore, if I ever take this one.
Yeah, Ben Moore is one of the first artists involved in glass, and he had a beautiful studio, and artists would come from really all over the world and work in his studio with him or doing their own work. And this is a classic example of his work where he spins it out. Unfortunately, he passed away rather prematurely. And the artists were, he was like an artist,
Mhm.
and there was a great deal of mourning for him.
Yeah, he's definitely the artist, and it was very spontaneous of his passing. His work lives on, and his legacy lives on through his work. And this work is actually quite large, at almost 30 inches wide. You see some of these pieces that appear, and they're usually, 12, maybe 16. A very substantial work by the artist, and probably going to be going for a great price. Now we're back to Paul again. I told you we had a few of these in the auction. Look at this. It's got bees, it has root people, flowers, blueberries. Everything you can imagine is inside this piece. This is really probably the hottest piece that I've seen in a long time. I own a piece of his work too, but it does not have as much going on in this sculpture. This is the kind of the one that you'll be showing off for years to come. So pay attention for this lot number 42 towards the end of the auction,
Yeah.
because it's a really stunning work. Guggisberg Baldwin, new great friends of the galleries as well. We have a huge installation of their M4s, I believe, installed right now in the gallery for Glass 54. This is a handmade, blown, and carved work and they were heavily influenced by Lino Pietro. Lino actually gave them the advice to start carving into their glass works early in their career, which really led to them being successful. And a fun, object by the artist, somewhat simple in tone, but something you really will be drawn to over time.
Yeah, heavily carved.
Heavily
Beautiful.
carved, yeah. Here's that box I was talking about. Fred, you want to take this one?
Sure. Kyohei Fujita. And the best known of the artists working glass in Japan. He unfortunately passed away a number of years ago, 2011, I believe. And this is different foils, gold and platinum on the surface. And the box is held together by a silver lip that goes around both the pieces where it fits together. There is a family in Japan, and their occupation was to make the silver for Fujita's boxes.
Hmm.
And they would hammer out and make these beautiful silver lips for the piece fitting together. This is one of the smaller ones, uh, but absolutely beautiful and has all the elements of the large ones. These peach blossoms inspired the white and pink elements on the surface.
Yeah, it is quite a special work. It arrived to the gallery, had a chance to inspect it myself. It is quite substantial. It feels like a good sized box in your hands at that 4 by 4 inches. So we'll find a nice home. And there's a small little dot inside the work on the lid and the base to show you how they connect to make sure you put them back together the correct way the first time. Here's the other Seth Randall. And make sure to pay attention to the video on this work because the eye on the right looks kind of dark, but really it's just a shadow from the lighting. It is really a stunner. It's really big at almost 20
Yeah,
inches tall with this giant crown coming out the top. It's hollow because I think it's mold cast or blown like mold casted, and you can really feel the movement around the whole sculpture. It looks kind of like a big giant chess piece. And when I first saw it, I was pretty blown away with the scale and the coloring of the work.
He never made much. They're pretty rare. I know that the most we've ever had to exhibit was two,
Mm.
and in this in auction, I don't know, Aaron. I know we had one up for auction before, but I think that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've had a couple, but they're very
yeah,
rare for us, for
yeah,
sure. Especially one like this.
yeah. I've never seen one like this.
Yeah. All right, and so the last piece at the auction, I want you to look at that height. This is a really substantial work by Toshio Izumi from Japan. It's 89 inches tall. This is by far the largest Izumi I've ever seen or experienced, and this is a great opportunity for someone to take a monumental piece and add it to their collection. This was owned by, we actually sold this piece when it was new here at Habitat, and the collector had it in their home here by the gallery, and they since moved to Florida. And during the process, deaccessioned many pieces because they just didn't have room. So if you really want to get a spectacular work by the artist and a very important work, this museum quality piece would be it. Tell us your thoughts, Ferd.
And I watched him work one time in Japan, and that piece is a single piece. It's not put together with anything. He has to hold it up and grind it in the process of making all the undulations in the surfaces of it. It's just a fabulous piece. I'd go out on a limb and say it's the nicest piece that came to America.
Very good. It's
It's
interesting to see that you're talking about where they're all plates of gas that have been placed together, and then he uses his, I would call it subconscious geometry to carve and grind and carve these pieces down to this shape. And at this
yeah,
scale, it's very impressive
yeah,
by far. So that wraps up our auction. And I hope you guys place the bid. Go to habitatauctions.com to bid on our Habitat Masterworks website. If you have any questions, contact me, Aaron at habitat.com, 248-554-0590 to contact me at the gallery. If you have any questions or want to place phone or silent bids, people seem to be wanting to place a lot of bids on the internet, so feel free to bid at our Habitat Auctions website. If you have any trouble registering, contact us, let me know. The auction is also on Live Auctioneers should you prefer that platform, but it ends up costing more money. So just to hint, join us over at the Masterworks site. Thank you for joining us today.
sure. Thank you for having me.
All right. Yeah, like I said, our big international's coming up this next week, and it'll be up through May and through the summer. So if you love glass, come and see us here in Royal Oak, Michigan at the Habitat Galleries complex. See you soon. Thanks. Bye bye.